Welcome back, folks. This is Michael Musso here on Western Rick 102 FM. And on the line right now, we have Ned Hartley. Ned is the current writer of Bananaman for the Beano, the classic UK superhero Bananaman. Eric Wimpy, I believe, is his last name. Wimpy is his last name?
I think it's Eric Wimp, although I must have not.
Wimp. Sorry. Wimpy, I'm thinking of, there's a Wimpy burger or something like that.
Yes.
Anyway.
I think it's Wimp.
Eric Wimp.
These are things I should know. These definitely a plot point that I should have picked up by now.
Well, Eric Wimp, when there is danger, he eats a banana and 10-year-old Eric Wimp, I should say, when he eats a banana, he transforms into Bananaman with the strength of 20 men, 20 strong men, and the brains of 20 muscles as well, of course. Bananaman, he started a while back, but Ned, we're going to talk about really is, that's currently what you're doing now.
Yes.
When did you start writing Bananaman?
I started writing him about 3 years ago. I'd spoken to John, the editor of Beano, a couple of times about other things, and then basically, John Anderson, editor, the editor of the Beano, and I'd created this superhero called Punchface, who's a superhero who punched people in the face. It's very complicated. I know it's a very difficult concept. People seem to grasp it. It's very good. And I've been putting those online and doing kind of ridiculous superhero comics, because it made me laugh, and I'd kind of got various of my friends to draw them, because I'm a terrible artist. I can write, but I cannot draw. So I asked various friends to draw them for me, and I kind of commissioned various people to draw them. So I'd got about 4 comics worth of those together, but in kind of very short comics, like 2 or 3 pages at a time, or 1 or 2 pages at a time, and just kind of like spoof, satire, silly superhero comics. Where the whole point is he just punched people in the face. It's not.
One Punch Man did pretty well, and that's his whole thing,
Exactly. This was my argument. But Punchface is a lot less complicated than that. He just thumps people, and everyone is a kind of vague pastiche of a different part of kind of comics. So there was like a Sergeant Punchface comic, which was kind of World War II ones, and then Punches on Infinite Faces, which is kind of Crisis on Infinite Earth. So lots of different things. And
that's pretty good.
It was great. I just did it because I really enjoyed it, and it was me and my friends.
Best way to create.
Well, exactly, and I put them all online. And the editor of the Beano got in touch and said, I think you'd be, from these I've seen, I think you'd be a good fit to write Bananaman.
Yeah, it sounds like a perfect match, or is.
Yeah, exactly. And Punchface is something that I started doing years ago. I used to work for Titan Comics years ago, and it was just something that we did as like a 3-panel gag strip at the back. Sometimes we do them, and then in fact we did a little kind of 3-panel strip about the people that worked in Titan, and the joke was that my favorite comic was called Punchface, and then we thought, well, actually, let's start drawing it, and then me and my friend Andrew James started drawing it, but then I had lots of other people doing it, and it's just good fun to do. So it kind of came from there, and it was obviously a huge honor to be asked to write Bananaman for the Beano. I've been reading it since I was a kid, and I absolutely loved it. And I as part of research, I went to my parents' house and dug all the old annuals out of the spare room and kind of looked at those. But that was 3 years ago, and it's been fantastic since. I've just been absolutely loving doing it.
We should say as well, Ned, you didn't just it wasn't that you were just, as you say, you were working at Titan Comics, and you've written for stuff like Star Wars, and the list is, you have a long list. You've worked for nearly every UK comic. 2000 AD.
I'm really lucky.
Yeah,
it's great. So I started off. Well, basically, my career started that when I was in my early 20s, I realized that I needed a proper job, but no one would hire me. So I went and started working in a local comic shop, which was, I went to work at Forbidden Planet, which was the kind of the big comic shop in Shaftesbury Avenue, because I knew that I really wanted to work in comics. I wanted to work in magazines, and I knew that Titan owned Forbidden Planet, and I loved working. I'd actually recommend to anyone to work in a comic shop. It was brilliant fun. Made lots of great friends. I met my wife there. It was really good fun. Yeah. But then after working there for a few years, I then went to work for Titan. So I started off. I think my first job was doing a letter column on Buffy the Vampire Slayer magazine.
Oh, cool.
Which is great fun. I mean, you got some very intense people writing to you, but in a very nice and very kind of inclusive way. And then I worked on kind of Star Wars magazine, Star Trek magazine, and then I think the first comic I ever edited was SpongeBob SquarePants, and I know a lot about the way, because SpongeBob is not is not symmetrical. I know a lot about how the little dots work on the SpongeBob. I like spent years circling them and sending them back. And then I did Wallace and Gromit comic, which is brilliant, which I absolutely love doing.
Yeah.
That I kind of commissioned, and I got to work with some really great writers and artists. Got to work with Simon Furman, who did Transformers when I was a kid, and I just absolutely loved his work. And they did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I got John McCrea to do me a strip for that, which was again dream come true. So I got to work with a lot of really, really good people for those.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think what else I did. And then I did the Batman Legends as well. So I kind of worked. There's many different, but I got to kind of work on those ones. And see.
Oh yeah, I know what I mean.
Yeah, so again, it was I've been very lucky that I kind of started working at Titan at a time that kind of they were doing a lot of comics, and I worked for my senior editor Steve White. He used to work at Marvel UK. He had a lot of kind of experience in this, so we had a really great time launching a lot of different titles and really kind of creating good stuff. And I did wrestling. I did WWE wrestling, which is great fun. And
you've gone into all the stuff that anyone that's read comics would go, gee, I love wrestling, I love Star Wars, Star Trek, Wallace and Gromit, Bananaman. You've had your hands in all the pies. That's the phrase. I don't think it is, but anyway.
I'm trying to work out if there's anything that I loved when I was a kid that I haven't worked on since.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much everything that I've, Transformers, because when Steve was doing work on that, Star Wars, which I then came back to later on when I went to work for Egmont. Loads of stuff. I don't think I've done He-Man because there's not been a He-Man reboot. So if they do this big He-Man reboot, then I'm gonna.
There is the new show, so I'm sure someone's gonna have a comic. Yeah.
Well, I'm obviously got my eye on that.
Yeah. There we go.
But, and then what I was doing, that I was writing a lot as well. So I I wrote for Wallace and Gromit as well before I started working on it. And then I've been kind of writing Star Wars annuals, I did a couple of Doctor Who books, and then since then, I still work, and then I could work.
So you just like brushed under Doctor Who, and it's like, hang on, there's another like big massive franchise.
It's great for I've been really lucky. Like I say, it's been really good fun to work on these ones.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that I kind of got a background in licensed publishing is great, because we always used to say that you're playing with someone else's toys. That you can have really great fun doing it, but you have to realize that you've got to kind of put the toys back in the box afterwards. But you've got to be respectful of what you're doing with these characters. Which is which has been great, which is great fun to do. But I think because I've kind of been doing that quite a lot, I've kind of got that knowledge now of how far you can take kind of stuff with that as well. And then since then for my day job, I work for Penguin Random House as commissioning editor, so I work on the preschool books there. So I do a huge amount of Peppa Pig ones as well, which is great because I've got 2 kids. And it's great having a focus group of them. They really love it. Peppa does incredibly well. And having spent years watching Peppa with my 2 kids, you don't realize how much encyclopedic knowledge you have of Peppa as a parent. But also part of my job as well is kind of going out and finding different properties to work on, for different to bring in for Ladybird, because I work for Ladybird Books, kind of different properties to bring in, so you kind of go to different licensing fairs.
Oh, cool.
That, which is great fun. But is as well as that, I'm a writer, so I write Bananaman, and I've done a couple of books for Marvel, which is there's a couple of like a character encyclopedia and like a big history of Marvel comics. Great fun doing. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I've worked. I did a really nice biography of kind of graphic novel biography of Albert Einstein a couple of years ago.
Oh, lovely.
Which is great fun, because I did it with an artist called Tom Humberstone, who's lovely.
Yeah.
But you don't really understand, because we wanted it to be something that's readers of all ages can understand. Well, not all, it's obviously it's a 6-year-old for the 3-year-olds.
I don't know, like school kids.
Exactly. So we kind of look at it. Because a lot of my work that I've done has been writing for kids. So you have to gain quite awareness of like the difference between what a 10-year-old can understand and what an 8-year-old can understand and what a 6-year-old. So this is kind of like 9+. But you don't really understand something until you have to explain it to an artist who's got to draw something that a 9-year-old can understand. So we had a really good fun time doing that.
I was just going to ask you, actually, in that writing for children's comics and stuff like that, I suppose maybe what some people who maybe submit writing and stuff like that might misunderstand would be that it had to be extremely simplistic for kids to get like all the different characters in Transformers or Star Wars or anything. But kids like complexity, don't they, really, in characters, I mean, they like very silly stuff as well, too, obviously. But, what I mean? They like,
I think there's a difference between simple storytelling and being simplistic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
And I think you can be quite reductive and simplistic and just have very basic storytelling. But actually, as long as you're very clear about where a story is going, and you don't, and a huge part of that, one of the reasons I love working in comics is because it's a collaborative process that you're working with the sometimes you're working with you're working with a penciler, you're working with an inker, you're working with a colorist, you're working with a letterer, you're working with and an editor, obviously, you're working with a huge team of people to create comics. I absolutely love it, and when that works well, it's everyone, when everyone's firing all cylinders, it's brilliant because you're telling these stories, and they can be quite complex stories. But if everyone has got guidance on storytelling, you can do really quite complex stories in a really simple and quite emotional way, and it's great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, one of the things that I try to do with Bananaman, and without getting kind of too pretentious about it, is I try and be a little bit different with it and try and take different ideas and see how far I can push them, but in a way that it's not complicated.
Yeah,
I think you can be complex without being complicated. You can do quite different ideas, but the same way, as long as it's clear where you're going with them, you're clear what's happening, I think kids can stick with quite a lot, and I think most readers can. I think kids are quite discerning that that they can follow things quite carefully. I mean, we did this one last year where Bananaman keeps being shot by this disintegration ray. So the first time he gets shot by it, he goes from being a normal coloured comic book character, just being the black and white inked outline.
Yeah.
And then he gets shot again, and it's just the pencils of him, and so it's just like the blue line pencils that the penciler would draw. I mean, with Bananaman, it's Wayne Thompson does all of it. He does pencils. But and then finally he just gets that with it. He becomes the concept. So the word head is where his head should be, and the word arms where his arms should be, and the body is where his body would be. And that's quite, there's the whole thing is that the bad guy says, "Oh, now you're just the essence of Bananaman."
Yeah,
and that's a complicated. I think that's quite a complicated thing. But that's my kids, and they got it straight away. And
of course,
I think
kids think about that kind of stuff all the time, like on the basic idea and what's a word and breaking things down to us most. So if you get like things that are kind of complex for adults, really, to understand, but kids are like, I'm thinking about this all the time, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as long as you don't dress it up with like, well, this is how Plato would say it, and this is how Thoreau would say it, and this is Derrida would say it. Whatever you keep it as a quite simple idea within that. You can take stuff through to quite complicated logical conclusions, which is what I really love. And I think because comics is a medium that's not really like any other, it's the combination of images and words, and it's a really, really personal medium. It's something that you read. You can't. It's very hard for you to have a comic read to you. You have to kind of. It's just you. And it's the artist spent a lot of time on these, laboring over it. That it's a very personal connection you get with that, and I think you can use that to tell quite fun personal stories. But also you can take it what you do to quite different extremes and do it in a really fun way. I mean, another thing which I kind of try to do sometimes is look at what's affecting children, and kind of, because I think comics and to some extent science fiction as well are a great way to use metaphors to kind of address various things. And obviously I can't be too preachy. I can't go too far with anything with kids, but like there's one where Bananaman's feeling quite sorry for himself, and there's different. He gets zapped by he always gets zapped by a bad guy's device, because that's kind of how and like his thoughts become real, and they start yelling at him, and that's kind of our way of looking at how perhaps kids can feel unhappy and kind of how that can manifest itself. And actually, the way that problem solved is by he talks about his problems with the police chief, and it's kind of that's how you solve the kind of problems of feeling bad. It's not that's the only solution to them, but for this, we talk about how this place, it kind of works for that. And I think you can do that with comics in a nice way, and I think as long as you can make it absurd and quite fun with it, there's a lot of scope that you can kind of go with that.
I mean, you do see sometimes people who are like very heavy-handed or whatever with like a message, and like you're gonna go, all right, well, that's just lazy writing, where you're going this thing bad. Whereas if you can do things like that, where you got like you got hit by a beam and your thoughts, as you say, like get put out and stuff like that. So that's and kids, I think what's interesting about Bananaman and what I loved it as a kid
Mm.
was more than Dennis Menace, because I was like, oh, I could know kids like Dennis Menace, but I thought, Eric, that could be me. You know, he's
Mm.
not the strongest, he's not the biggest, but he can
Yeah.
use banana. He transforms into Bananaman. And it's like, I'd love to be able to do that for even just for
Yeah.
a few minutes, just to change into this big adult and be able to deal with your problems and fly around the place. Maybe you're a bit of a goof, but that's kind of suiting because you're a 10-year-old in the body of an adult, and it's
Yeah.
just kind of good. I think it's brilliant.
I think what comics can do really well, I think what there's a lot of, especially what superhero comics as a genre does very well, is a lot of it is about wish fulfillment.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kind of right from the early days of Superman, Superman,
Totally.
the first kind of big superhero.
Yep.
It's two slightly scrawny Jewish guys in the 1930s, talking about an alien who's been taken from his homeland.
Yep.
And is now being transported to America. And I think there's obviously a metaphor there. And I think what in the UK and in Britain, and what we can do sometimes quite nicely is we can take these quite straight-faced American ideas and subvert them slightly. And I'm not taking credit for that at all, because
Bananaman it's been around before, yeah.
But I think we are quite good in the same way that we can take rock and roll and subvert it and do interesting things in the 60s, and I think we can do that with a lot of different genres and a lot of different mediums. I think there's something very interesting the way that Britain looks at America and reflects different parts of it back, and sometimes it can be quite straight-faced and sometimes it can be just really fun. And I think, again, without being too kind of pie-faced about it, I think Bananaman is a really good example of that, because there is there's Shazam's Captain Marvel, which is a similar idea of a child who then
totally
has incredible powers. And I think Bananaman, you can see roots of Bananaman in there.
Definitely.
But Bananaman's got this great thing that because he doesn't take himself seriously, and
that's what I was going to say.
There is that great kind of disconnect. I think a lot of the humor in Bananaman comes from the fact that superheroes are so po-faced and take everything so seriously. And even today with these great big superhero films, even the Marvel ones do take themselves quite seriously. I mean, there's a lot of
like you always kind of think, isn't this a bit weird? Like this is weird, isn't it? Like this is strange. Like
he's
this is a weird scenario.
He's got a bright blue outfit on. He's wearing his tights. What's going on? And I think
like no one ever says, Bruce, why are you dressed like a giant? Like it is. Is this something going on at home?
The ears. Why did you? Did you ears? What's that doing? But I think that is the as soon as you start thinking that, and because superhero films always have to fight that, because as soon as you start thinking a superhero film, this guy looks like an idiot, then it just completely deflates that.
Yeah.
It completely pricks that bubble, and everything kind of falls apart, and you can never really have that back. So I think that's what I think I have quite fun with Bananaman in this kind of age where there is a renaissance of superhero movies, and there is the Marvel films, which I absolutely love.
Same here.
Just brilliant. But they can be quite tongue in cheek sometimes, but they still do have that thing of Captain America has his square jaw and will stare up into the sunset, and I think. You can have fun with those tropes because those movies can't really do that. And I think there are so many kind of accepted things in the superhero genre that you can subvert and have fun with. And I just really love doing that. Bananaman is great fun.
I think as well the fact it's bananas and the fact that's like such a classic like comedy trope, just slipping out banana peel, but it's like this guy is like, of all the fruits, bananas. Right. So it's like not a pineapple, man. You go, oh, it's quite rigid, that's got sharp edges. But a banana, you can squash a banana.
I've been thinking about this for ages. I don't understand why bananas are so funny, but they are. Is it the way? Is it because of bright yellow? Is it because
I think it is the yellow or stuff like that? Yeah.
I think just there's. Do you watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
There's one bit where Charlie comes out and he's eating a banana, and he's got like this Nazi outfit on. He's eating a banana, and it's so funny, and I can't work out why it's so funny.
I think it's the contrast. It's like such. Yeah, what is about bananas? It's like you put them with anything. You have a Tyrannosaurus Rex eating a banana. It's like, it's just funny. I don't know why.
It's funny, and I think sometimes you can with comedy you can overanalyze comedy.
It's like why is a fart funny? I don't know, but it just is. It's a funny thing. But here's what I wanted to ask you though, as we just have like 10 minutes left. But I wanted to get your opinion on where you think, this is a big question now, and I wanted to ask earlier on, but we got sidetracked. But I wanted to ask you about your opinion about printed comics in today's age, and children's printed comics in particular, and magazines in particular with kids, and how you think they're doing, because I think they're doing really well.
Well, I think they're fantastically. I mean, obviously, I'm slightly biased because I write for the Beano, but I also think the Phoenix is doing amazingly as well. I think it's just, I mean, they're both two fantastic comics, especially when readership was down about 10 years ago, and they've really pulled themselves back up. And the Beano's rising, and because they've got really, because they're doing really well, and they've got. I mean, I'm going to get because I worked in magazines for years. Like, I get quite technical about the whole thing, but for years there was this kind of arms race that everyone had to put a free gift on the front cover of a magazine. And so for the last couple of years that I worked in magazines, I probably spent more time discussing the free toy on the front of the magazine than I actually did any of the articles or features or comics inside the magazine, which was a bit sad. And I think there is slightly a turning away from that at the moment. And I know that Waitrose has said they want to cut down on non-reusable plastics, which again, there's a discussion about what counts as that. Totally. And I think, especially because what does very well at the moment, one of the last magazines I worked on was Lego Star Wars, and Lego magazines for kids do really well. But I think what's great is there is starting to be a move away from kind of a big bag of toys to parents really and children realizing that actually they want something which entertains the kids, and they want, I mean, the huge success story for kids magazines has been The Week Junior, which I just love. I think it's brilliant, and it's so hard. They write every week. They write really complicated features about very simply. They're about very complicated things in a very simple manner, and I think it's much harder to write for children sometimes because you've got to run stuff really simply. And my daughter gets it, and she's really up to date with everything.
And as you're saying, they're more discerning, whereas an adult would be like, "Oh, it's okay," because your kid is like, no, that's no, I want something better than this. No,
exactly.
They're picky, rightly so.
Absolutely. And what's great in the pandemic is that nothing's great about the pandemic. What's great in the last year is that people are getting more into subscriptions. So Phoenix, the Beano, the Week Junior, they all have fantastic subscription models, and all those magazines where you get the free time front, actually, because if it's more than a certain amount, you can't get it from the letterbox, it costs more for postage. Actually, that model doesn't really work that way. So, I mean, I think what is great is that you are seeing a renaissance. And what I'd love to see it in the newsstand to return to the way it was, 30 years ago. You have a whole range of different, comics and stuff in the newsstand, and lots of different people drawing, writing brilliant new stuff. But I really hope that
I can see it happening, to be honest, already. I mean, I see one thing I always know is never going to a shop, kids magazines, and they're always sold out nearly all the time, and that and that's one thing I think with a lot of other print media. I don't know how long more it's going to be lasting, but I think kids magazines and comics, I think because kids like the physical thing as well, they like to collect stuff, so I think that might be around for a while. Yes, I think it'll be a while before you can kill that off.
I mean, there's a bit of research we did about how kids interact with kind of different media, and adults with much more. If you give them a tablet, they might read an article or a phone or anything. Whereas if you give a tablet to a kid, they just want to play a game on it. Like, why do I want to read on this when I can do, I can play Minecraft or whatever, or Roblox, or whatever. Whereas a comic, that's the only way of interacting with it. So and again, like I was saying before, it's a very personal way that you interact with it. It's just you and the comic. It's you're pouring over it, and it's very written for you. And I think that's because we did the whole stuff about whole bit of research about bedtime stories, and how if we try reading a kid a bedtime story from a tablet, they enjoy it much more for the first 30 seconds to a minute, and then they just get bored because they want to play games on it. Whereas if you read a bedtime story to a kid from a book, actually the enjoyment goes much more up over a while.
And you get the smell of the paper as well, and the tactileness of it. Something about it.
It's a physical thing, isn't it? You're interacting with it. It's like, I mean, you and I both know it's a lovely thing, and it's really it's something which you kind of stays with you the rest of your life.
Yeah, definitely. Nate, I'm gonna let you go because I know you're very busy. So
sorry, I've got another thing.
No, you're grand. So Nick, thank you so much. Now, is there anything big you want to announce here on now? But is there any big projects or anything you want people to know about?
I don't know if there's another one that I'm doing with Marvel, but it hasn't really been announced yet. It's a kind of book about another kind of Marvel book, but I'm sure if people follow me on Twitter, I'll be tweeting.
And what's your Twitter handle?
It's at Ned Hartley.
Ned Hartley. Thank you, Ned, for hopping along and chatting with us here. It was a great conversation. Love talking to you.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely chatting with you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
All right.